What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope we're all doing well. So let's get started. Before we get to a bunch of trades, LME free agency, we had a couple of moves. Arizona Diamondbacks signed first baseman Carl Santana to a one-year deal. This is the yearly Carl Santana report. He's been signing one-year deals with different teams for the last bunch of years. The guy's ancient. The guy's like 30 years old at this point. You know the deal with him. Not gonna hit for a ton of average. It's gonna be pretty much a straight DH. Maybe you fill in the first here or there, but he'll hit a decent amount of home runs. He plays every day for a full season. Might give you 20 to 25 home runs, 60 to 70 RBIs. He's been playing forever. He goes to Arizona, who was definitely was probably on the market for a first baseman. Also, you trade Josh Naylor last year at a deadline to the Seattle Mariners. Of course, you end up resigning there. They bring Carl Santana. I expect him to get a lot of the playing time at first base, designated hitter for Arizona this coming season. The Padres make a sign. They sign Miguel Andujar a year for $4 million. This is a solid signing for them. Andujar had a broken year as a rookie in 2018 with the Yankees. Put 149 games, hit 297 rather, 27 home runs, 92 RBIs. 855 OPS, was the runner-up to Ohtani in the Rookie of the Year race that year. After that, injuries and just not able to get back to where he was in 2018 kind of decimated his career. He ran himself out of the Bronx, bounced around, was in Pittsburgh for like a year and a half, then was with the A's for a year. Last year was between the A's and the Reds. Overall, had a good year, his best year since the rookie season back in 2018, but again, injuries limited to 94 games. But hit 318, which is a career high, 10 home runs, 44 RBIs, 822 OPS, 352 on base, which was a career high by a country mile. That was only in 320 at bats. Not a very good defender. Came up a third baseman, was a butcher over there. He's played mostly left field over the last few years. Isn't great in the outfield, but he has a good bat. When he's healthy, he is a solid hitter. He's going to be 31 this year. That's a solid pickup for San Diego. He'll probably get a lot of time in their outfield for them this season, and maybe you see some time at third base. But the big move that happened yesterday, the Detroit Tigers signed Framber Valdez, all-star starting pitcher, formerly of the Houston Astros, to a 3-year deal with $115 million. He can opt out after the second season. I think this is a very good signing for the Detroit Tigers. It is a lot of money. On paper, he's probably not worth $38.3 million, which makes him the highest paid left-handed starting pitcher on an annual average salary basis in the league. But he's a very good starting pitcher, even though he's going to be 32. Last year, 3.66 ERA was the highest it's ever been in a season where he pitched the full season as a starter. But still very good. 31 starts, 192 innings he gave him. He had 187 strikeouts and 68 walks. This is a guy who's a two-time All-Star. He's finished top 10 in the Cy Young going 3 times, was top 5 in 2022. This is a World Series champion back in 2022. That year, he led the league in innings. In his career, 166 career starts, 3.36 career ERA over 1,000 career innings. He's still a very good starting pitcher. Also, the altitude problems we saw last year is a bit of a concern, but if he can quiet those, it's a short-term deal. Having him and Trick Screwball at the top of the rotation is very scary for any team, especially in the postseason. They got to go all in. They've kind of made their bed with not choosing to really entertain trade offers for Trick Screwball. They're not looking to extend him either. They don't want to give him an extension. Hell, he asked for $32 million in arbitration. They came with 19, announced the whole thing, and they went and turned around and gave a 32-year-old from Valdez $38 million. It's not a great look. That being said, he is going to help the team for sure. And then you look at the rest of the rotation. If Matt Manning is healthy, if Reese Olson is healthy, Casey Mize, this could be one of the league's best rotations if they're healthy. And they have maybe the best 1-2 punch in baseball with Trick Screwball and Framber Valdez, both left-handers, both can succeed in the postseason. So overall, I think it's a very good move for the Detroit Tigers. NFL coaching carousel continues. Teams filling out their staffs. The New York Jets bring in Frank Reich to be their offensive coordinator. I think this is a decent hire. I mean, it's not going to matter. Glenn's not going to... If he survives the season, I'd be surprised. He shouldn't be the coach anymore. But he's a solid offensive mind. He was a head coach in the past, of course. Was in Indianapolis for 5 or 6 years. Was pretty good there. Took him to the playoffs a couple of times. Obviously, the 1 year in Carolina was very, very porous, and even last season. But he used the interim head coach at Stanford last year. He was offensive coordinator of Philadelphia before taking the Indianapolis job. He did a good job there. He's a solid offensive coordinator. I think it's a solid hire. I wouldn't be surprised if by Thanksgiving Glenn gets fired and they promote Frank Reich as the interim head coach, and he gets a look to see if he can become the full-time coach the following year. I think it's a good spot for Reich just because Glenn's on shaky ground. If he gets fired midseason, which is very likely, you're going to be the interim head coach, and if you do a good enough job, maybe you'll get a shot to be the full-time head coach and get back in the league as a head coach. But I don't think it's going to matter. It's the Jets. Aaron Glenn probably gets fired either during the season or after next season. He should be at least. But just zooming out, Reich's a solid offensive coordinator. I think it's a fine hire. The Pittsburgh Steelers hire the Vikings passing game coordinator Brian Angelico as their offensive coordinator. That's McCarthy's offensive coordinator. I think it's a fine-ish hire. I mean, their passing game was very bad this year, but the quarterbacks were also J.J. McCarthy, Max Brosmer, and Carson Wentz. So I don't really blame him, but look, I said when McCarthy got hired, he's going to bring in a bunch of retreads and randos to be on his staff. Patrick Graham's to the DC, Angelico's the OC. I think you see where this is going. I think Angelico was with McCarthy years ago for a long time, so just basically he's going to bring in all of his old friends and just a bunch of retreads. Stable guys, which is what the Steelers are, stable and average. And that's what they'll be again. And the Arizona Cardinals hired Nathaniel Hackett as their offensive coordinator. Best of luck, I guess. You got two former Jets OCs there. Obviously, Mike LaFleur is the head coach. Hackett's the offensive coordinator. I mean, I don't trust Nathaniel Hackett as far as I can throw him. He was a fine OC in Green Bay. He also had prime Aaron Rodgers. Then he was a head coach of Denver for not even a season. Was a disaster. One of the worst head coach tenures ever. Was the Jets offensive coordinator. Was absolutely terrible in 2 seasons. Was demoted in his second season there. Then obviously Solid gets fired. And I think he had been named the quarterback coach in Miami, but by Jeff Hafley. But Arizona bring him in to be Mike LaFleur as offensive coordinator. Now you have one hockey trade that happened. The New York Rangers trade star player Artemi Panarin to the Los Angeles Kings. They get back a conditional third-round pick and Liam Greentree. Kings also extended Panarin, who's going to be a pending free agent. 2 years and $22 million. This is a great move by the Los Angeles Kings. Panarin is 34 years of age. He isn't quite the same player, but still very good. 19 goals, 30 assists, 57 points this year. This is one of the premier players in the league. This is a guy that's good for 30-plus goals pretty much every single season. Good for 80, 90, even 100 points every single season. Very good goal scorer. Excellent distributor of the puck. He's a great player. He hasn't been the best postseason performer, but he'll now get to change his scenery with Los Angeles Kings. This is a big pickup for the LA Kings. And now they signed him to like a very fair extension. 11 million is a big number, but it's only for 2 years. They really needed one more big piece in there if they're going to make a push, and they get that in there. Artemi Panarin. The prospect the Rangers get back in Liam Greentree. He has some talent. Last year had 49 goals, 70 assists, and 119 points in the OHL. This year has 23 goals and 45 points in the OHL in 34 games. He's still 20 years of age. So very talented kid. It is the OHL, not quite the NHL. He was a first-round pick 2 seasons ago. So they do get a very decent prospect back for Artemi Panarin. It's about what you were going to get. A high-end prospect-ish and a mid-round pick. Panarin's 34 and going to leave. He's a rental. Well, he was going to be a rental for the Rangers, obviously. He obviously gets the extension from the Kings. And they were kind of boxing because originally he said he wants to go to Florida or Tampa. From what I've read, I think Florida just didn't want to do it. They couldn't figure it out. I think Tampa didn't get very far in talks. And then I heard he wanted to go somewhere in California. Carolina, I think, was interested in giving him a pretty big extension if they made a trade. I don't think he really wanted to go there. I think Seattle dipped their toe in the water. They're going to give him a pretty big extension if he went there. But just ultimately, I think he really wanted to go to California. The Kings, I think, offered less money than what he could have gotten from Carolina or Seattle in an extension. But I just think he was we're definitely go to Los Angeles for whatever reason. He gets sent there for Greentree and a draft pick. Let's get into the NBA trades deadline. As I'm recording, this is about 1:30 in the afternoon. When you guys are seeing this, of course, it's 5 o'clock Eastern time. So by the time you guys are seeing this, the trade deadline is over. So I'm gonna keep my phone open in case any other trades squeak through the cracks. We got Golden State makes a trade. They trade Jonathan Kuminga and Buddy Hield to the Atlanta Hawks for Kristaps Porzingis. I like this a lot for the Atlanta Hawks. Kuminga, all BS aside, he is a very good player. He is still 23 years old. When he's played with there, he has been pretty good. Only in 20 games, but he's averaged 12 points a game. I know his numbers don't show up the page shooting wise, but this is a guy who's a top 10 pick a few years ago. In 2024, averaged 16 points a game. He's not the best three-point shooter in the world. He's very streaky from three, but this is a guy who's a good scorer. He can defend, got good size. He's got a lot of potential to be a very good player in this league. Now we'll get a legit opportunity in Atlanta. He won a championship in his rookie season. So I think it's a good pickup. And Buddy Hield, very good three-point shooter. This year averaging 8 points a game in only 17 minutes a game. He's shooting 34% from the field, assuming from three this year for Golden State. He's a 39% three-point shooter for his career. He's in year 10, 33 years old. Atlanta can either keep him as a three-point shooter off the bench to maybe make a playoff push this year, or maybe they'll flip him before the end of today for a draft pick or two. Maybe he even gets bought out if they do fall out of it. But he's a solid player. They moved Porzingis' expiring salary. I don't love it for Golden State. I get Kuminga. It's not gonna work with him. The relationship is cooked. You had to move him. He's got a team option next for like $24 million. I'm sure they're gonna decline to get something for him. But to get a over the hill expiring salary, plus you have to give up Buddy Hield, it kind of seems like Golden State is throwing in the towel. You give up a 23-year-old potential All-Star. You give up probably the second best pure shooter on your team outside, of course, Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter of all time. For Porzingis, who is 30 years old, is due $30 million this year and is going to be a free agent. He's always hurt. He's only played 17 games this year. And look, first career, he averages 19 and 7, shoots 36% from three. He's 7 feet tall. He can defend. This year, he's averaging 17 points a game. He's shooting 36% from three, 84 from the line. Very good defender. Of course, won a championship a couple of years ago with Boston 2 seasons ago. The guy's never on the court. He's not going to be on the team next year. You don't even know when he's going to debut. Kuminga's gone. Hield's gone. Jimmy Butler is out for the season, torn ACL. He might miss time next year. The guy's, 37 years old. Torn ACL right in the middle of the season. It's already struggling because of all these injuries. You're looking at probably a play-in spot right now, and I think you got worse. So Golden State, you got to be careful. Just hang on to a play-in spot this year. Stephen Curry is 36 years old. Draymond's up there too. This is a very, very old roster. Now, Al Horford, granted, he's an expiring salary. He's really old. No, you didn't get any younger. I mean, you move Hield, who's 33, but you also bring in a 30-year-old who's not going to be on your team next year and give up a 23-year-old in the process who had that team option next year. So I don't really get this for Golden State. I get you had to go to Kuminga, but to attach Buddy Hield to him for an expiring salary, constantly seems like you're throwing it in the towel on this season. And any window you had, look, they've won 4 championships in the last decade. They should be grateful for that. Obviously you won the 3 and the 5 year, went to the finals 5 years in a row. Had that one off year when everyone was hurt when Durant left. And then you were able to retool, put together another championship team without Kevin Durant. But then just from there, the Draymond and Poole incident, running Jordan Poole out of town, you run Andrew Wiggins out of town. You bring in Jimmy Butler, and you're bringing this old ass squad. We thought, a shot to last year, you take a series lead in the second round against Minnesota. Steph gets hurt. You end up blowing that series. And now this year, things have kind of fallen apart. The roster is ancient, and I don't know how many more years you really can crank out of this group. But Kuminga and Buddy go to Atlanta. KP heads to Golden State. Both make a pair of moves. They trade Lonzo Ball and 2 second round picks to Utah. Um, and he's been waived. Lonzo Ball, very promising career at UCLA, second pick by the Lakers years ago. Gets traded in the Anthony Davis trade to send that sent Davis to the Lakers in 2020. Had some good years in New Orleans when he first comes to the Bulls. Looked like he could be a really good young player. And obviously, some really bad knee injuries. Close to 2 straight seasons. Was hurt half the year last year as well. And his knee's just cooked. He's got nothing left. I'm afraid his playing career is probably over. But they also made another move. They traded Ayo Dosunmu and Julian Phillips to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Rob Dillingham, Larry Miller, and 4 second round picks. I don't understand what the Bulls are doing. So they made some decent moves. You bring in Jay Ivey, you bring in Simon, so you've moved some pieces around. They have a zillion different guards. I don't like you didn't get a single first round pick for Zach LaVine, Alex Caruso, DeMar DeRozan, or Nikola Vucevic. You've gotten a couple of good young players back in those deals. You got Josh Giddey. You got Anthony Simons from Vucevic the other day. But I don't really understand this one. Dosunmu's a very good player. He's had a career averaging 15 points a game. He's shooting 51% from the field, 45% from three, which is absurd. He's 26 years of age. It's kid I've always liked. I loved him coming out of Illinois. I'm surprised he wasn't drafted higher when the Bulls drafted him. He's got a chance to be very good now. Now maybe getting an expanded role. And I do like Rob Dillingham. I liked him coming out of Kentucky. I thought it was a good idea for the Timberwolves to move up and get him in the draft. I think it was last year. But the Dosunmu right now is a much better player than Dillingham. I'm not sure what Dillingham's ceiling is. I do think it's decently high, and he'll get a chance to play, I'm sure, in Chicago. He was not playing really at all in Minnesota last year or this year. But I would rather Dosunmu, a proven commodity in the midst of a career year. I would prefer him. And then Phillips will throw in, Larry Mills will throw in, and then you get 4 second round picks in the deal. But I would have kept Ayo Dosunmu. You're kind of taking a chance that Dillingham is something special, and giving away Dosunmu, who you know is at least a very good player who's having a career at just 26 years of age. So I didn't understand that from the Bulls. But good trade for Minnesota. Get yourself a very good scoring guard to come off your bench and upgrade right now over Rob Dillingham. Only cost you 4 second round picks when you swap, the 15th player on every roster and Julian Phillips and Leonard Miller. Well, Lakers make a move. They get Luke Kennard for Gabe Vincent and a 32 second. This is a good move. Gabe Vincent is honestly kind of a bum. Let's check, make sure nothing else went through. That's it. He's Vincent's kind of a bum. Typical Heat role player. Spoelstra makes him look better than he was. He gets a big deal from the Lakers, and then all of a sudden, like, oh wait, he's actually not that good. But Kennard's a very good shooter, averaging just under 8 points a game this year, shooting nearly 50% from three. He's a level league for 3-point field goal percentage 3 times in his career. 2022 with the Clippers, he shot 44.9%, shot 49.4% in 2023 between the Clippers and the Grizzlies. He is shooting 49.7% this year. That right now leads a 44% for 3-point shooter. Right now, maybe outside Stephen Curry, is one of the more dangerous 3-point shooters in all of basketball. That's a good pickup for the Lakers. They need shooters around Luka Doncic. I'm not going to bring up LeBron James. He's irrelevant to me. If you've watched the show, you know this. He's a much better player than Gabe Vincent. It's a good move for the Lakers to definitely get their bench definitely got better. And then we had the Bucks not going to trade Giannis. So after all this shenanigans, we're not going to get Dallas disappointed. Not that I wanted the Knicks to trade for him. I can see why they didn't want to do it. Like, can we end this saga, please? Someone just trade for him. Please, end this. At least end it in the summer. Like, how much longer do we have to do this? I love Giannis, but enough. Just either sign an extension for $1 zillion to stay with poverty-ass Bucks or go somewhere else. Just end this stupid saga already. And then they turn around, they trade Cole Anthony and Amir Coffey to the Suns for Nick Richards and Nigel Hayes-Davis. I don't know who the last guy is. Just, what are we doing in Milwaukee, guys? But the Knicks make a trade. Not too long ago, they make a move. They acquire Jose Alvarado from the New Orleans Pelicans. They send Dalen Terry, who they got for Gershon Yabusele, a separate trade that they did, I think, earlier today. They traded him, I think to Chicago. He went for Dalen Terry. Two second round picks. I think it's a good move for the Knicks. Alvarado is a very good defender, very high energy player, decent 3-point shooter. He's averaging just under 8 points a game this year, averaged 10 last year. Excellent defender. Very similar player to Josh Hart, high energy guy, plays a lot of defense, can shoot the three, can score a little bit, kind of does it all. Fun player. I think he'll fit in very well with the New York Knicks. I think it's a very good trade by the Knicks. I think you're doing the right thing. Don't, go for a big swing. You have more assets next year. Uh, don't give up the world for one guy and decimate your bench. Pick up one more role player that can play some defense on your bench. Bring in a spark plug like Alvarado. And that's very good asset management. Yabusele is not really part of the rotation anymore. He's a player option worth almost $6 million next year. Good chance he would have picked that up. Much would have gotten that on the open market. So now you move his $5.8 million player option and 2 second round picks for Jose Alvarado, who's just a much better player. He's younger. He fits your team better. So I think that's very good asset management by the New York Knicks. You have enough depth down low at the big man position. Obviously, Karl-Anthony Towns is your starter. You know how I feel about him. Not the biggest fan, but when he's on, he can shoot the basketball. Mitchell Robinson right now is healthy. Right now he's playing well. This kid Diawara has played his ass off. You have Hoop Porter there as well. You have too many bigs, not enough wings, and you add one in Jose Alvarado. So first off, last thing I want to say about basketball, unless something else breaks through in the next couple minutes here. Deuce McBride from the Knicks is having sports hernia surgery. Might be out the rest of the regular season, if not throughout the playoffs. So probably another reason Alvarado was brought in. But we got NXT from Tuesday, then we will take this thing home. The first match was a triple threat women's match for the Women's North American Championship. Izzy Dame defended against Lola Vice and Thea Hale. Izzy Dame picks up the win. I'm really hoping that the end game is her and Tatum Paxley go one more time. Probably put the title on Paxley. I'm not sure how close either are to the main roster at this point. That was a solid match. But before that, Shawn Michaels brought in Robert Stone. As expected, he made Robert Stone the next NXT general manager. That's probably the right move. I don't think a guy like William Regal would do it full time. People suggested Kevin Owens. He's at some point wanting to come back to in-ring action. I think the time was always maybe around SummerSlam. If so, that's in like less than 6 months that he could be coming back. It just wasn't going to work. People thought maybe, Chris Jericho they bring in. I don't think that's in the cards. So, and also Jericho actually wasn't around when he really came in, so that didn't make a lot of sense anyway. So that's how the show started. Tony D'Angelo finally cut a promo saying how, he once had a family, then they turned his back on him. And then Dark State, made them kind of forget who he was. Now he's coming for them. So very good promo from Tony D. In between this, we had a backstage segment with Urea Connors and Kale Dixon with Stacks and Lucas King set up a tag match. Chase Hughes at this point is kind of stupid. And then obviously Shuttle Hella, one of his creepy, social media videos. Then we had Elio LaFleur against Charlie Dempsey. LaFleur picks up the win. That was a speed tournament match. He advanced to the next round of the tournament. I'm not a big fan of the speed tournament. The speed champion, I think it's kind of stupid. It's a little bit too gimmicky for me. But Jasper Troy, who is the current champion, is an absolute beast. And I do like him a lot. We had the Elegance brand, who were the TNA Women's Tag Champions, against Zaruka. Of course, Solon and Zarya had some problems backstage as they've been having. And the Elegance brand picks up the win. A miscommunication. Sol accidentally hits her move on Zarya and not the Elegance brand. So the Elegance brand retains the TNA Tag Team Championships. Overall, solid match. Really to push along the Sol and Zarya storyline. Breakup's definitely coming. They got to put Sol on the main roster. And Chase Eve against Saxon Lexus King. King and Sax pick up the win. It's just kind of a time filler match. And then the Fatal Influence came out as Jason James was looking for a new challenger for NXT Women's Championship. Kendall Gray came out with Ren Sinclair, then Zarya came out, then Saruga came out, and then Robert Stone came out, and his first order of business as NXT GM was making a tag match between Ren QCC, which is of course Kendall Gray, Ren Sinclair, and Zaruka, and whoever picks up the pinfall for their team will get a shot at JC Jane for the championship. So now, obviously, the teams are going to have to be competing against each other as well. So that should be a fun match this coming week. And the NXT Championship ladder match for the NXT Championship that Obafemi relinquished a couple of weeks ago. Joe Hendry picks up the win. He's new NXT champion. I thought it'd be Ricky Saints. I do love Ricky Saints, but Joe Hendry deserves it. He won't have a long reign. He's very close to the main roster. Alfie is still super over. I think this is a very good decision and was a very good match. That's all I got for you guys today. Till next time, so long. Have a great day.